You may have never heard of Fisker, or you may be very, very well researched. Either way, this video will have some benefit for you. This video explains what happened to Fisker financially and what could happen next, including how they got into this predicament, how they can get out, and most importantly, what happened with the stock, and what's up with all the shorting rumors. First off, the funky quirks, the incomplete software, the 3D printed parts, and the horrible key fob situation that has not been remedied. I just changed my key fob battery. I've owned the car for 2 months, and I never had version 1.0. The car problems are kind of bad, but infinitesimal compared to the financial woes inside the company. And it all started with some ignoring of the rules and late payments. And all the money you lost in resale value or shareholder value probably went into the pockets of one company. All right, the first clue is the accounting guy. We had the CAO quit, and then a couple weeks later, the CAO quit. We all knew something was up at this point, but weren't really sure how to find it or what we could do about it. The next clue that something was really, really wrong was the inventory write-downs. Those were listed in the 10Q in September. And this information was kept very quiet. In fact, the earnings call mentioned nothing of it at all. But that news probably should have been shared because the result was a class action suit filed by shareholders that people who had $100,000 in losses or more could get involved in by January. When approached,
Fisker declined to comment.
the third clue was the 2025 notes default. The 2025 notes were a huge deal. Fisker sold $510 million of notes. Notes are essentially a loan to CVI Investments via Heights Capital. The face value was $510 million, but Fisker only got $450 million in cash for the transaction. And when you dig down, CVI Investments has ownership similarities and ties with Susquehanna, owned by the TikTok man himself, Jeff Yass. This is a brief surface look at the Susquehanna umbrella that CVI Investments exists within. And Heights Capital describes itself this way. Focused on high-growth firms, we aim to back management we believe in rather than exert control. Unlike activists and many private equity firms, even though Susquehanna is definitely a private equity firm, the flexibility of our proprietary capital allows us to provide broad and innovative support to our investees. It's basically the arm of Susquehanna that invests capital into this part of the market. The $510 million was due in 9 quarterly installments, and these repayments typically result in common stock conversions. In other words, a dilution of the stock as those shares are issued and provided to the note holder as a payment. In this case, 93% of the prevailing price with a floor of $1.16. All that means is $1.16 is the minimum that these shares can be valued at when they're converted to ownership as payment for this $510 million loan. Now, the $510 million was actually only about $450 million, as obviously there was a premium there. That's tier 1 of Susquehanna's profit model. But all of these initial numbers and rules were the terms of the notes before a default occurred, which is a breaking of those rules. Once the rules within these notes are violated, that all went out the window. The default changes the conversion to a 25% premium when shares are issued. Fisker needed to file all of its financial documents on time. And if they didn't, a whole bunch of other options become available for these notes. This 25% premium gave Susquehanna's affiliates all the leverage they needed to walk away with shares under market value and immediately flip them for a profit. And that's tier 2 of the profit model on these notes. Oh, and then there's the 18% penalty interest on top of the 25% premium. Another profit tier. But wait, you know the value of the stock is going to go down as you dilute the shares, and you have access to $41 billion of the TikTok Yas King liquidity at your disposal. Wouldn't you then short the stock? Which is legal, by the way, because it's in the terms of the agreement for the notes published with the SEC. And if this was done, and why wouldn't it be done, there's another profit tier. Let's take a look at dilution versus stock price on top of each other. The dilution goes up, there's more shares available, those shares become less valuable, the stock price goes down. Is this bad for investors? Yes, but it's past tense bad. We know this. The future bad is that the first priority for Fisker's assets goes to the note holder. So on top of all the profit they've already gotten from the initial terms of the loan, the 25% premium, and the ability to short the stock, now in the event that the note holder isn't able to get 100% of the repayment, the notes also call for first dibs on all the assets. That's right, first priority for all of Fisker's assets goes to the note holder. $181 million is still owed based on the last reporting. Also, the forbearance agreement that is currently over as of today, when I read this, May 1st, makes all of this money due immediately, $181 million. And because of the premium on the shares and the insider info that comes with the conversion, it's likely Susquehanna is already whole from this investment, or at least close to it, despite the additional $181 million that Fisker still owes them. Long story short, a late document allowed Susquehanna to dilute the Fisker stock to the tune of 1 billion shares with conversion rates as low as 1 penny. That means CVI Investments takes 1 share of Fisker common stock and only reduces Fisker's obligation by 1 penny. And of course, this kind of dilution is going to cause the stock to crash. Well, the crash caused the delisting, which means the New York Stock Exchange no longer lists Fisker as an available share to purchase, which means we have to go to this aftermarket, which is much more volatile, much more deregulated, and much more dangerous to invest in. Oh, and the delisting itself triggered a requirement to offer to repurchase the unsecured convertible notes due 2026, which essentially means that Fisker owed more people more money, and of course they didn't even have the money to do this. So now the 2026 notes are also in default. In summary, Fisker is out of money, owes millions of dollars immediately to a predatory note holder, and you can argue whether or not this was predatory with me in the comments. Their assets have been written down, which basically means the appraised value is much lower, to the point where they can no longer profit on the products they sell. They don't have enough money to pay their employees, so almost everyone's been laid off, except for some service people. And in the event a restructuring occurs, Susquehanna is going to take everything first. And the only chance anyone gets anything else is in the event that there's money left over after all of the IP and other assets has been absorbed by this company. If a company wants to buy them, that's also in the notes. They would have to make right all the debt obligations. Deferred revenue is a line item on a financial statement. It is not a cash account, and that's the warranties and any benefits. Bankruptcy is short for bankruptcy protection. In order for Fisker to continue to exist, they must file for bankruptcy protection. But Susquehanna doesn't want to do that just yet because there is still inventory and they are selling it. So the forbearance, in my opinion, will continue until every single Fisker Ocean has been sold and liquidated and provided to this note holder in cash. Can Fisker sell it? That remains to be seen. So the only way Fisker continues to exist right now is for those Fisker Oceans that have already been produced. Remember, there aren't any more being produced. All those laborers have been laid off by Magna, continue to sell. And at this point, since that forbearance agreement is done, there's a chance that Michael Healy, the original chief restructuring officer, is gone, and the new chief restructuring officer, John DiDonato, will take over and start the organization of all the other assets to be delivered to Susquehanna. And if I missed something, let me know in the comments below. And that's a summary of Fisker's financials. It's not going to be relevant for super long, maybe a month, but things are definitely happening. In fact, today was the day that whole forbearance thing blew up, so I could be sitting on news right now that changes the scope of this video. But for now, those are the facts. Become a patron or a YouTube member for early access to videos. Subscribe for more, and we'll see you on the next one.
Hey, smash the like button.
Thank you.